high initial costs, limited infrastructure, performance in extreme conditions, whether hot or cold, battery life and replacement costs. All of these are objections against using electric vehicles on site. Plus, think about your operators. What's more cool, driving a nice chug, chug, chug of the diesel or getting in some sort of vacuum cleaner-like electric vehicle, in a quiet vacuum cleaner. My guest today is Raymond Wang. He's the founder and chief executive officer of HEVI Corp. And they have set out to be the first U.S. company to fully electrify its entire range of commercial heavy equipment. And they both manufacture the equipment and also market it. And they have deep insights into where electric vehicles work and where they don't work when it comes to construction applications. The thing I like about Raymond is that he's very well spoken about the industry, as you might imagine, but he's not some raving electric vehicle lunatic. Some California government official that says you must electrify by this time. And we have a great conversation about all those real objections that people have as to why they shouldn't use electric vehicles and the particular niche that HEVI has chosen and focuses on in order to accelerate that adoption of electric vehicles on job sites. Feel free to share this interview with other people who you think would benefit from listening. And now let's dive right in. This is Aric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Raymond, welcome to Construction Genius.
Thank you, Aric. Great to be here.
I've been toying with buying a Tesla for many years. I'm officially waiting for the new Model Y because I'm hoping that it'll be more like a Lexus as far as the ride and the comfort. And that's just a very quick segue into our conversation today, which is all about electrical vehicles. Tell us just a little bit about yourself and your company, and then we're going to dive right into the meat of our conversation.
Absolutely. So I am the CEO and founder for HEVI Corp. We are a manufacturer of all electric heavy equipment, from loaders, excavators, anything above 10,000 pounds. And right now, currently in the United States, we're the only commercial option for any business looking to explore a cleaner power source for this type of machinery for their job sites. And we're based in central New Jersey. That's where we're headquartered. We have our assembly site just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I've been a Jersey boy for about 40 years. I was born in Chicago, lived in Florida for just a little bit, and have been in Jersey ever since. So this is home, and this is where I'd like to offer this new technology to hopefully go to cleaner tomorrow for our country.
Okay, so let me explore that with you a little bit. One of the interesting things I've been thinking about lately is Toyota's stand on electric vehicles. And basically what they've said is that the strategic position they've taken is one of hybrid vehicles. So obviously we have gas-powered, we have hybrid, we have electric. What has led you, from a strategic point of view, as you're looking at the marketplace, to focus solely on electric vehicles?
It's all about application. It's all about application for the mobility standpoint. So any type of car or truck or bus out there, the main purpose is range. You're trying to get from point A to point B. And from an electrification standpoint, you get into your conversations for range anxiety. And I'll focus more on the heavier side. So
Sure.
Your bus, right?
Yep.
Your business is getting to A to B as efficiently and cost effectively as possible for your business. For the transition from gasoline or diesel to electric becomes a little harder, becomes a little more challenging because of the range anxieties and everything that we're hearing about to get the technology at that level to compare or meet diesel or the right applications for it. So it's a big jump to get over that. But our side our side on the heavy machinery space, we don't have those same problems. No one's trying to get 400 miles out of a front end loader. In most cases, never leaving that site.
Yep.
It's all about the use case to, does it have the power to get the job done, which can absolutely say from electric, it can with the technology. Nothing new has to be invented to do it. And does it have the life to get the job done, to work a full shift or more, which it absolutely does. Now, I will be very clear and transparent. There's applications where the electric is not suited for, but that doesn't mean that we write off the technology itself. It's all about the right tool for the right job. And we are just introducing a cleaner tool for specific jobs out there.
Okay, so that's interesting. So your scope and focus is relatively narrow.
We focus our machinery primarily as yard equipment.
Okay.
So any type of application where it's not going to be leaving that site because it has access to power. So then the logistics to operate and fulfill or utilize that machine to fulfill the tasks for that site are easy and well catered towards our electric power. But let's say if you are, doing some earthwork, digging virgin ground to put up a brand new property development, and that unit's going to be out in the field for 3 to 4 months without access to power, then that's not going to be a great use case for us. There are solutions to make it work, but then you start losing the economics, and it's not much different from, let's say, transporting and storing diesel on that site versus transporting and storing these big Connex boxes, container boxes that they convert to one big battery to do the charging. You start looking at the economics.
So obviously there's many statistics out there for the long-term savings that an electric vehicle can give, perhaps the lower maintenance costs, things like that. But the upfront costs of purchasing electric construction vehicles are higher than traditional diesel machinery, and that can be a deterrent for a lot of contractors. So how are you bringing your offering to the market in view of those initial upfront costs being a deterrent?
Head on. We just tackled that directly. That was our number one thing, because we knew in this market, it's been diesel power for the past century. So we're trying to cater to an audience that has operated nothing but diesel for their entire careers. The fathers before them operated nothing but diesel, and even the fathers before them operated nothing but diesel. So to get them to be comfortable or willing to try a new power source, it had to make sense on paper first. These are business assets. They need to make sense on the bottom line, and that's where we started. So first and foremost, all of our equipment, we peg their price to their comparable diesel. Case in point, our largest front-end loader right now is, we call it the GEL 5000. It's a 40,000 pound front-end loader with a 4 cubic yard bucket. It's equivalent to, let's say, a Cat 9.
Right.
Our Cat 950, when we did our pricing, cost about $250,000. It's gone up a little bit then, but when we did our pricing, it was $250,000. So we pegged our price at $250,000. So now a business looking to explore new technology does not have to worry about a big sticker shock, a big price premium for the technology. It's comparable. Then factoring the maintenance cost, as you mentioned, there's no more engine to maintain. So, no more fuels, belt, all of those. The battery's self-sufficient, just keep it clean and you're good to go. You don't have to mess with it at all. So that dramatically cuts the cost. We estimate it at about 40 to 60% from a maintenance cost saving. And then more importantly is that power, the fuel itself. So that 950 advertised uses about 5 to 6 gallons of diesel per hour. Here, a lot of guys on the job sites, especially as that unit ages, it can go even 10 plus gallons. That's significant, especially for the cost of diesel. I mean, here in New Jersey, where I'm based out of, it came down to about $3.60 a gallon. In California, where you are, I believe it's still in like the $5.50 range. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's California.
It's a lot. That's expensive. 10 gallons at $5, per gallon, operating for 2,080 hours every year for 10 to 12 years, life of the machine. It's a lot. But from a electricity power standpoint, you're not going to a gas station or like a local mall to charge these equipment on a public charger. You're doing it at your job site. So here in New Jersey, that's between 7 to 11 cents a kilowatt hour. So for that large machine, it actually costs about $4 4 to 450 per hour in electricity to run versus
Okay.
the 6 gallons of diesel. It's huge. Immediate first year savings is 70 grand. That's what we put that, depending on your location. So that's how we start the conversation for business.
So then I guess a question that just pops into my mind is that if you're overcoming the price of the equipment objection just by pegging it to the price of a cat, how are you guys making money?
So we actually we are not selling these at a loss. Actually,
Uh-huh.
we actually earn a margin on each unit sales, even at that price level.
Right.
And the key thing is we wanted to keep these machines simple from an adoption standpoint. If we went very modernized for the machine, all these different functions and doodads and all that fun stuff, it'll just incur costs and it'll make that operator that's operated diesel all their life more uncomfortable to get behind the wheel, right? Our mission, our mantra from a product dev standpoint is an operator of a front-end loader and excavator can get behind the wheel and be comfortable within 5 seconds. And we're very, very proud because we've actually maintained and achieved. That's what we get from the feedback we get from all of our demos. No one has any problem operating the machinery. That's because we keep very simple. That keeps the cost down. It keeps adoption high.
So let's explore a little bit about the whole idea of these costs. One of the big concerns, so you're on the East Coast there. I know the weather is probably a little more inclement than here in California. But, I come onto a job site and let's say I'm operating in conditions that are either cold or even here in Sacramento, we're in the hundreds sometimes. What's the difference in performance between a diesel vehicle and an electric vehicle in terms of those extreme conditions?
Yeah, so from a heat standpoint, it's not as bad. You're going to start getting some performance loss when you get up to like the 105 plus range from a temperature standpoint, and it will go exponentially. So you start seeing some loss. It'll probably be like 10 to 15% at the 105, but then from like 105 to 110, start ramping up. So you'll get that from a heat standpoint. Cold is a little more impactful. So from a sub-zero standpoint, you will start seeing some performance loss. But again, it's the same way, like, 0 to -10, you probably get like between 5 to 15% loss. But then even from -10 to -15, then it'll jump up like 20. And it's an exponential scale. So that's actually why we're not trying to market our equipment to like Montreal and Canada. Our equipment has 24 volts of backup battery. This is from an operator standpoint. So if you have that operator that always runs, the diesel until it's empty, you don't want to get in the field. We're going to get the same thing. He's going to run the batteries dead. A site can switch to 24 volts of power. They get about 20 minutes of juice mobility to get it out of the fields onto a trailer or to the charger. I bring that up because those are just standard 12 volts lead acid batteries. And in the cold environments or even in the hot environments, we actually typically see those start to go first. So when our system does a check, when you try to turn on the machine, it'll say, hey, is there 24 volts of lead acid power? Lead acid starts to lose it when it goes under negative freezing. So when it goes under 32. So you start seeing loss in the lead acid batteries first. You'll do the system check, see, oh, there's only 20 volts in the system. Something must be wrong. It won't turn on. So what we always recommend for the lead acid is just in cold environments, you're going to be operating that winter for snow clearing. Just take out the lead acid batteries, store it someplace dry and warm, and then pop it in when you're ready to go. And you should be fine.
So let's explore the whole idea of the charging. With, obviously I'm on the job site. I want to make sure that my equipment is as productive as possible. Do I have to have a charger on site? I heard that, you talked about putting it back on the trailer, taking it back to the office. How's that handled?
So these are DC powered machines. So if your site is lucky enough to have a DC FC fast charger, a level 3 charger, then you can charge our largest equipment from dead in as low as 30 minutes. But they're few and far between, and they're very, very expensive to deploy. It's not realistic for most job sites to deploy one from an economic standpoint and a timeline. So what we had to do is we developed our own line of mobile DC chargers. So as long as your site has 220 or 480 volt 3-phase power, then you can utilize our chargers to juice up our equipment, no different from your cell phone or your laptop. There's nothing too fancy about it. They're very simple machines, so the costs are very low. And it's all about adoption. There's no proprietary parts, plugs into it. So you don't have to worry about getting a heavy plug and adapter. Our 220, it's really a washing machine plug at the end of the day, just rated a little higher for safety reasons to hit California standard. But not bad, which makes it easy because any site across America has 220 volt power. Many commercial sites, industrial sites have 480 as well. So the adoption has been really easy. That was huge because that opens up every single job site across the US. Now, again, coming back to my previous example, if you're doing, a highway extension or brand new property development that won't have access to 220 power, we have seen some folks, they'll take the line that goes to the trailer for that site, redirect a portion of it to power our 220 volt charger, or even, diesel generators pumping out 220 into it. There's solutions, but again, it kind of comes back to use case. You start losing the economic. Personally, I hate seeing that diesel generator powering and charging our machine, but people do.
Hope you're enjoying my interview with Raymond today. Quick break to let you know about my book. Construction Genius, effective, hands-on, practical, simple. No BS, leadership, strategy, sales, and marketing advice for construction companies. $20 on Amazon. Actually, less than $20, $19.99. Go out to Amazon, purchase a copy for you and your entire leadership team. Read the book together. 1 chapter a month. It'll take you a year to go through the book at 1 chapter a month. Have a discussion for 30 minutes on key takeaways from the book. And I promise you, after a year, your leadership team will have improved. So go out to Amazon right now, purchase yourself a copy for you and your leadership team, and reap the reward of improved leadership. Now back to my conversation with Raymond. So tell me, let's say you're talking to a contractor and you're looking to make a sale, and they say, well, Raymond, this sounds great. I like the easy adoption. My guy can just get in here and take it on. But the type of work that I'm doing, I'm going to need the convenience of the diesel is just outstripping the simplicity or even the environmental impact of the electrical, and because of my need for not only the yard work but also perhaps for site work and stuff like that, it just doesn't make sense. So how do you work with people? How do you have that conversation about that replacement when there's that hurdle of use, the right use for the equipment?
Yeah, that's the key thing. It's all about application. So we start by better understanding what machinery they're using and how they utilize it. Because we're not going to try to sell a machine that's not catered to fit their use, like that property development stuff. We're not going to do that. But especially on the contractor side, we get a lot of demand for essentially like that criteria where they would do a short-term rental for, let's say, trenching job. It's going to be on that site for a day or two, but it's really only trenching for like 2 or 3 hours of use. Our equipment, they're all good for 9 hours of true operating working use. So it can be on that job site for a week, if they're just using it for 30 to 45 minutes or an hour, each part while they wait for another time. So it's perfect for that. Or let's say you're doing indoor demolition work.
Right.
Now you don't have to worry about the emissions in that site and have a ventilation plan and all of that. There's no emissions for our equipment. So then you actually get preferential treatment for bids, let's say, because now it's not a race to say who can do it the fastest and the cheapest. Now it's also who can do it the cleanest and the safest for the community as well, environmentally. And then there's also additional use cases if you're in an urban setting. So like here, New York City, Philadelphia, we get a lot of interest saying, hey, I got a demo job or a construction job or a trenching job next to a school or a hospital. And your equipment, our equipment, they're mouse quiet on idle. You still get the sound of the bucket slamming into rock and stuff. That can't be avoided, at least from an idling standpoint. You don't hear the gug of the engine. They're mouse quiet. You and I can be having this conversation next to our machine while it's on, and we would have no issue. So that's huge for a contractor looking to get that bid, because then that's a step up that they have against their competition.
What about the battery life and the replacement costs?
So right now for our largest machine, so this is like worst case scenario, it's a 282 kilowatt hour, 660 volt battery. It weighs over 2 tons.
Right. Yeah.
Right now replacement costs are about $65,000 retail to swap that out. But these battery life have a 10 to 12 year lifetime. They're warranted for 5 years. So you're looking or expecting, budgeting to replace that battery at that 10 to 12 year mark. So it puts it right around an engine rebuild timeline.
Right.
55 grand, it put in line with an engine rebuild. But the big difference as well, our battery, we can swap that out in about 30 minutes. Unplug it, winch it out, the new one in, plug it in, right? Versus how long it can take to get the labor to do a full engine rebuild. It can take weeks.
What, if any, resistance are you getting from labor concerns, from unions about the adoption of electric vehicles as it relates to the replacement of, or the lack of need for diesel mechanics?
Actually, it's been the opposite. It's been extremely favorable from that standpoint because their approach is they see the opportunities and the transition into cleaner technologies. So by incorporating us into some of the training plans, their curriculums and all of that, we are actively training union mechanic operators into our equipment, and they see that as preparing them for the next generation of operators to give them a step ahead. And that's actually been, we've had wonderful relationship with union partners and operators, both on the mechanic side and operator.
What about the environmental concerns from the perspective of, I get my nice, quiet, clean electric vehicle on site, but what about the cost in the production of the vehicle in terms of the battery and the mining, then the disposing of the lithium ion batteries, all those kinds of things, both in the production of the equipment and then in the decommissioning of the equipment? How are things like that being handled?
Yeah, well, let's say that a fossil fuel and steel procurement is much cleaner.
Yeah, right.
But it's all about a journey. One thing I specifically always state is lithium mining is very, very new, right? It used to be a byproduct that we would throw away. We've only just started to target mine it right now. And because of the rapid expansion of electric products, right now the supply heavily outweighs the demand. But now that money's going into finding new sources, lo and behold, we're finding it everywhere. Outside of Reno, there's what was it? It was like a $240 billion repository of lithium found. Yeah. It's found in Pittsburgh. It's found in Texas. It's found offshore. It's everywhere. So as we invest more into that technology, we're just going to be better and better and cleaner about it. But right now it's kind of the Wild West because it's new. It's new. We're just trying to figure it out. No one's an expert overnight, and we all have to learn. So the whole industry is learning. So eventually we'll get to that stage where, just like in some, fossil fuel aspects of it, we'll be able to do that pinpoint mining activity. But it takes time. It took 200 plus years for us to get to that level. We can't expect that in 200 days, for at least. But another point is actually recycling. The recycling is a huge aspect of it because we utilize massive batteries. Like I mentioned earlier, our 5000, the battery, it's over 2 tons in size. So for that to be thrown away onto a landfill would be terrible, right?
Yeah.
To your point, we wouldn't be, walking the walk, we'd be talking the talk. And that's the business we're in. Key for us to solve that problem. So we partnered with a company called Princeton New Energy, and they actually use their plasma technology of Princeton University to be able to separate the anode and cathodes of the lithium battery to be able to convert into battery grade material instead of it being thrown away into the landfill as black matter or sludge. They're actually making button batteries and now little small cell batteries out of lithium. So they get a true second life to them. And the most important thing is they're not going to a landfill.
Where do you see the use of equipment in the next, let's say, 10 to 15 years in terms of the balance between electric, hybrid, and diesel-powered vehicles on the job sites in construction?
Yeah, first and foremost, I don't see a role for hybrid in our space. It doesn't solve anything that people are getting right now. The way that I see it is in the next 10 to 15 years, it's just going to be another product in the toolbox for the right job. That is the main mantra. Right now, we're educators. My whole team here at HEVI, I tell them that we're educators first and foremost. They get people comfortable with trying this technology. And then once people get comfortable with it, they see the use case of it, then they can understand where it fits their business appropriately, and may not fit every role. Actually, in fact, I guarantee it will not fit every role. But what tool do you have out there that fits every role? It's all about right choice for the right job. And hopefully it's just another tool that can be considered into a job site where it's appropriate. And then it's a way that we can do that job a little bit cleaner and potentially a little more economically feasible for that company.
Where do you see the political landscape shaking out? Because it seems like, and from my perspective, a lot of both from the federal and the state level, in many cases, there's this huge push for electrification of vehicles. And, I understand the good intentions behind that, so to speak, or the logic behind it. But at the same time, when you think about the adoption curve that people are being asked to take up, it seems unreasonable, perhaps. What's your view on that, and how the government push may change or adapt over time?
Yeah, it's a little bit Pandora's box that they opened for it, which, just like many things, starts always with good intentions. When we started, there's not a single incentive out there. So we got the first incentive passed for off-highway heavy equipment in Maryland. And at that time, 31 states have followed suit, which probably will wrap up to 34 by the end of this year. Mm-hmm. And from a federal standpoint, there's a big push. And for any change or any type of, behaviorism to convince people to give it a shot, I always stand behind the incentive. Right? Give people the carrot to get them comfortable to try it. Fantastic. But electrification, this sustainability push, especially in the political realm, has found to get bipartisan votes and support. Right. And then the issue there now, you get folks trying to one up each other to really drive that for other reasons besides the mission.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you start getting the stick. I highly oppose getting the stick. Opposing the stick to say, hey, hell or high water, you have to go electric by this day. That's a stick because there's fines and penalties and threats. It's a threat. And instead of now giving people motivation to learn more and to make an educated guess on, does it apply to the business? Does it not? Can I understand it and see it? Now you're forcing someone to pick a side. And then when you have that, they're not always going to pick a side.
Right.
And that's being a lot.
What was it that led you to take the strategic position that you have? Because, you don't come across as a sort of like, how people are with technologies. I understand that you're enthusiastic about it and you believe in it, but you don't come across as sort of a zealot or, some sort of, raving evangelist for your particular technology. How is it that you've come to that strategic decision to take this more balanced, measured, almost limited approach to the way that you're presenting your offerings and the way that you're positioning your company?
I look at it from a long-term standpoint, and I look at it as being realistic. If I try to sell this for every single application and market where it makes sense or not, saying that this is the best thing since sliced bread, then all we're going to end up doing is disappointing people, causing more people to be anti-electrification. And then now I've actually hurt the effort. I've hurt the brand. Plus also, not the way I work, right? We don't sell snake oil. I got to sleep at night. And my mission is to try to reduce the carbon footprint that we have in the US, because, we always focus on cars and buses, but heavy equipment is a major player into the carbon situation that we have. It doesn't get as much press because the data doesn't exist out there, purposely actually kept low, kept hidden.
Sure.
But just do simple math. So that, let's say that diesel loader, 40,000 pounds, let's say it advertises burning 6 gallons of diesel per hour, single shift operation, that's 2,080 hours a day. A single gallon of diesel burned is 22 pounds CO2. That's one machine. Compare that to a bus. A bus burns 1.5 gallons of diesel per hour. In the United States, we have 400,000 buses operating, but we have 2 million pieces of heavy equipment operating at any given moment. So you talk about what makes a big impact? Equipment. And for each machine that we can convert to an electric application away from diesel, just from let's say a forestry standpoint, that 200 acres of forestry that would have to be planted to offset the carbon of one machine. And we got 2 million of them out there. So we want to make a dent. That's a great way to do it.
Tell us a little bit more then about your company, how people can get in touch with you. And what I'd like you to do is just to give us, who is your ideal client? Who absolutely needs to speak to you about the equipment that you offer?
Yeah, our website is GetHevi, GetHevi.com. And our ideal client is, again, for that true yard use for the machines. And because we have machines that go up to 40,000 pounds, and in the near term, even higher than that, but I'll leave that as a little teaser. We are specifically catering towards applications such as waste management, agriculture, urban settings, public works yards and depots, and also for those rental companies then who can provide that short-term rental opportunities for that contractor, for that simple, trenching job or whatever have you. For many contractors, it doesn't make sense to, even if it's comparable to diesel, our excavator is about 20,000 pounds. It's still 135,000. We're not in a capital-rich economy at the moment right now. So
Right.
with this diesel electric, rental is a wonderful option. So those are kind of the main areas that we're catering to. We have machinery deployed in places like the Port of Baltimore, Port of New Jersey, New York, biodiesel power plants, logistic companies, manufacturing. But we're still in that early adoption phase.
Yep.
But feedback's been fantastic. And we primarily sell our equipment through live demos, instead of relying on people to listen to, what we say about the benefits and advantages and features. We just give them the machines. We give them the keys and say, hey, use it on your job site. Have fun with it and let us know what you think.
What's the 10-year goal for your company?
10-year goal of our company is to penetrate the U.S. market, which would be capturing 3% of market share across the entire United States.
Okay.
Now, that's a lot. It's a very lofty goal.
Yep.
The United States market is a $90 billion a year market for heavy machinery. So, 2 to 3% of that is huge. But that is a very critical milestone, because if you hit that level, then that means that the market has adopted your application technology, and now you're a consideration for business.
Excellent. Excellent. Raymond, so we have the website, gethevi.com. Looks like you've identified your niche. You're going after it. You're seeking to build the company sort of step by step, slowly. What's your favorite part about leading your company? That'll be my last question.
My favorite part is seeing the operators get behind the machine. For these demos, it's natural, we anticipate it, but sometimes, we'll host a demo and they will bring every operator for their business onto our site, ready to destroy it, tear it apart, play with this RC toy. We hear that a lot, right? But as soon as they get behind the wheel and the first time they put their foot on the accelerator to move it, they get the immediate feedback of it. They can hear the sound. And then all of a sudden, it's just like opening a whole new book with them.
That's
Their
cool.
eyes light up. And then it doesn't take long that all of a sudden they're doing donuts on our site, betting each other who can, do it faster, better, or something. Or for one demo, who can reach the ceiling of a 40-foot ceiling salt silo by going pure vertical with our 40,000 pound machine. Definitely not something I recommend, but you get that giddiness. It's fantastic. The conversion's great. And that's why it motivates me to continue that we're doing the right thing. Because when the operators truly embrace it, it shows that the timing for adoption is now. It's all about the education, getting them that opportunity to get behind the wheel or learning more about it and getting over these myths and
Great. Well, Raymond, I really appreciate you joining us here on Construction Genius, and I do wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Raymond today. Hope you enjoyed our talk. Go out to the website, gethevi.com. That's G-E-T as in Tom, H-E-V as in Victor, I.com. Check out what they have to offer. See if it's something that would be a fit for you. As always, please give the show a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts so that Construction Genius can be seen across the interwebs. We're about 280 episodes in. My goal is to get to 500 at minimum, so there's tons more Construction Genius content to come. Feel free to Share this episode with others. I just want to give you a quick thank you if you're at this point in the podcast for listening this far. And I really appreciate you joining me here on Construction Genius.